I ordered pizza at a wedding because half of the guests didn't get to eat anything while the other half were able to take whatever they pleased, but now the bride is mad at me because it ruined her aesthetic, but I don't really care. I, 32F, recently attended the wedding of my college friend, Amber, 31F, and her now husband, Derek, 33M. What should have been a joyous celebration turned into a Hunger Games situation, quite literally. Some background: Amber and I met during our freshman year of college. We bonded over our shared love of art history and our dreams of working in the fashion industry. While I eventually pivoted to graphic design, Amber pursued her passion and now works as a stylist for up-and-coming celebrities. From day one, Amber has been obsessed with appearances. In college, she was known for throwing elaborate parties that looked amazing on Instagram but were often disasters in real life. I remember one Halloween party where she insisted on serving only black and orange foods. It looked stunning, but half the guests got food poisoning from the squid ink pasta that had been sitting out for hours. Despite her occasional missteps, Amber's always had a magnetic personality. She's the kind of person who can charm her way out of any situation, which is probably why we've remained friends all these years, even though we've grown apart in many ways. When she announced her engagement 2 years ago, I knew her wedding would be interesting. Derek, her fiancé, comes from old money and works in finance. He's a nice guy but tends to go along with whatever Amber wants. I had a feeling this wedding would be Amber's magnum opus of style over substance. The invitation arrived 6 months ago, a cream-colored envelope with gold calligraphy that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Inside was not just a simple RSVP card, but a whole packet detailing the vision and aesthetics for the wedding. I kid you not, it included a color palette, blush, cream, and gold preferred guest attire, pastels and light neutrals encouraged, no bold patterns or bright colors suggested poses for photos. A mood board for the overall vibe of the wedding. A request that guests provide their Instagram handles for tagging purposes. Red flag number 1, right? But Amber's my friend, and I wanted to support her big day. So I RSVP'd yes, bought a new dress in the approved color scheme, and even practiced some of the suggested poses in my mirror, feeling ridiculous the entire time. The big day arrived, and I have to admit, the venue was stunning. It was a renovated barn in wine country, with fairy lights strung across exposed wooden beams and long tables adorned with elaborate floral centerpieces. Amber had clearly spared no expense. There were ice sculptures, a string quartet, and even a champagne fountain. Amber looked like a princess in her designer gown, which I later found out was a one-of-a-kind creation that cost more than a luxury car. Derek cleaned up nice in his tailored suit, looking every bit the wealthy finance bro he is. The ceremony itself was beautiful, if a bit over the top. Amber walked down the aisle to a custom-composed song. There were doves released at the end of their vows, and the ring bearer was a teacup pig wearing a bow tie, which, admittedly, was adorable. After the ceremony, we all moved to the reception area for cocktail hour. This is where things started to go downhill. The hors d'oeuvres were microscopic, think single blueberries wrapped in prosciutto and served on tiny silver spoons. They looked great in photos but did little to satiate anyone's hunger. An hour passed, then 2. People were getting antsy, checking their watches and whispering about when dinner would be served. I overheard one of the bridesmaids mention that the caterer was running late due to a mix-up with the orders. Apparently, Amber had changed her mind about the menu 3 times in the week leading up to the wedding, and there was some confusion about the final selections. No big deal, I thought. These things happen. I tried to distract myself by mingling with other guests. I caught up with some old college friends and met some of Derek's colleagues, who seemed nice enough if a bit stuffy. Finally, at 9 p.m., a full 3 hours after the ceremony ended, dinner was announced. A collective sigh of relief went through the crowd as we all took our seats at the long tables. And that's when chaos erupted. You see, Amber had insisted on a staged dinner service for optimal aesthetics. The idea was that servers would bring out plates one by one, allowing the photographer to capture the perfect shot of each dish before it was served. In theory, it sounded fancy. In practice, it was a disaster. By 10 p.m., only half of the guests had been served. The other half, including myself and my tablemates, watched in growing disbelief as the lucky ones dug into their meals. The servers seemed overwhelmed and confused, unsure of which tables to prioritize. I tried to catch Amber's eye, But she was flitting from table to table, posing for photos and seemingly oblivious to the hunger crisis unfolding around her. Derek looked uncomfortable but didn't intervene. At my table was Amber's grandmother, Margaret, 78F, who was starting to look pale and shaky. She whispered to me that she needed to eat something soon because of her diabetes medication. That was the last straw for me. I discreetly pulled out my phone and Googled nearby pizza places. Miracle of miracles, I found one that was open late and willing to deliver to our remote location. I quietly asked my table mates if they wanted in on the pizza order. The response was an enthusiastic yes. 20 minutes later, I got a text that the delivery driver was outside. I snuck out, tipped him generously, and brought in 5 large pizzas. The smell wafted through the barn, turning heads and causing stomachs to growl audibly. I started distributing slices to my table and the surrounding tables that hadn't been served yet. Margaret nearly cried with relief as she bit into a slice of pepperoni. Word spread quickly, and soon I had a line of hungry guests discreetly approaching me for pizza. For about 10 blissful minutes, it seemed like crisis had been averted. And then I heard a shriek that could have shattered glass. "What is that?" Amber was storming towards me, her face a mask of fury that clashed spectacularly with her ethereal bridal makeup. Derek trailed behind her, looking equal parts embarrassed and hungry. "Is that pizza?" Amber hissed, glaring at the half-empty boxes. I tried to explain the situation calmly. "Amber, half of your guests haven't been served yet. People are starving. Your grandmother needed to eat because of her medication. I was just trying to help." "Help?" she screeched. "You've ruined everything. Do you have any idea how this looks? Pizza boxes in my wedding photos? The grease stains on the tablecloths? This isn't a frat party, it's my wedding." By this point, we had attracted an audience. Some people looked sympathetic towards Amber, but many more were clutching their pizza slices protectively, as if afraid she might snatch them away. Derek, bless him, tried to intervene. "Honey, maybe we should just let people eat. The pizza actually smells really good." Amber rounded on him. "At 2, Derek? This is supposed to be the happiest day of our lives, and it's being ruined by Domino's." I couldn't help but interject, "Actually, it's artisanal wood-fired pizza from that new place downtown. I thought it would be more in keeping with your aesthetic." In hindsight, that might not have been the wisest thing to say. Amber let out a wordless scream of frustration and stormed off, Derek hurrying after her. The reception fell into an awkward silence, broken only by the sound of people quietly munching on pizza. I spent the rest of the night avoiding Amber's death glares and receiving a mix of grateful thanks and disapproving looks from other guests. Margaret hugged me and called me her pizza angel, which almost made the whole ordeal worth it. The next day, I woke up to a barrage of texts and missed calls from Amber. The gist of her messages was that I had single-handedly ruined her perfect day, destroyed her wedding aesthetic, and embarrassed her in front of her new in-laws. She demanded that I pay for professional photo editing to remove all traces of pizza boxes from her wedding album. I haven't responded yet. Part of me feels guilty for disrupting her vision, but a larger part feels justified in making sure people, especially Margaret, got fed. So, Reddit, here I am, asking for your judgment. Am I the asshole for ordering pizza at my friend's wedding? Edit 1, wow, this blew up overnight. Thank you for all the comments and awards. To address some common questions. 1. Yes, I did pay for the pizzas myself. It cost about $200 including tip, which I felt was worth it to feed hungry people. 2. No, I didn't know about the staged dinner service beforehand. The invitation only mentioned a curated dining experience. 3. For those asking about dietary restrictions, I made sure to order a variety, including vegetarian and gluten-free options. Edit 2, a lot of you have asked about what happened to the catering situation. From what I gathered from other guests, the caterer did eventually serve everyone, finishing up around midnight. Apparently, the delay was caused by a combination of the stage serving and some dishes having to be remade because they got cold waiting to be perfectly photographed. Edit 3, holy cannoli, this post has gotten way more attention than I expected. Thank you for all the supportive comments. To those suggesting I should have handled it differently, I appreciate your perspective and agree that in an ideal world, I would have been able to address this with Amber or the wedding planner directly. Unfortunately, in the heat of the moment with hungry and distressed people around me, I made a split-second decision. Edit 4. Since many have asked, here's an update on the situation with Amber. She's still not speaking to me, but I've heard through mutual friends that she and Derek had a huge fight after the wedding about the whole debacle. Apparently, he thought the pizza was a great idea and wished he'd thought of it himself. There are rumors of them attending couples counseling. I feel bad about potentially causing strain in their new marriage, but I still believe I did the right thing for the guests. Edit 5. To the Redditor who suggested I start a wedding pizza delivery service called Not Hungry, you're a genius and I'm seriously considering it. Edit 6. Okay, last edit, I promise. For those concerned about Margaret, she's doing fine. I checked in with her a few days after the wedding, and she was incredibly grateful. She even joked that she's going to request pizza at all family functions from now on. Also, she's the one who encouraged me to share this story online, saying people need to know that sometimes, being kind is more important than being proper. Update, 1 week later. I can't believe I'm back here with an update, but the situation has taken some unexpected turns, and I thought you all deserved to know what's been happening. First off, thank you all for your overwhelming support and advice. Reading through your comments has been a roller coaster of emotions. I've laughed, I've cried, and I've seriously contemplated starting that Not Hungry emergency wedding pizza service, still working on the business plan, by the way. So, here's what's gone down in the past week. 1. The Great Pizza Fallout. Amber finally reached out to me directly, and it wasn't pretty. She sent me a lengthy email detailing all the ways I had sabotaged her wedding. Apparently, the pizza incident has become the talk of her social circle, and not in a good way. She claims that some of her influencer friends have unfollowed her because her wedding wasn't elevated enough. I wish I was making this up. 2. The photo fiasco. Remember how Amber demanded I pay for photo editing to remove the pizza boxes? Well, their photographer, a friend of mine from college who I recommended to Amber, refused to do it. He said the pizza photos were some of the most genuine and joyful moments he captured all night. Amber's threatening to sue him now. 3. Derek's dilemma. Through the grapevine, aka our mutual friend, Sarah, I heard that Derek has been secretly reaching out to guests to thank them for coming and apologized for the dinner debacle. He apparently told Sarah that he wished he had stepped in sooner, but he was afraid of upsetting Amber. There are rumors that this whole incident has made him reevaluate some things in their relationship. 4. Margaret's mission. Amber's grandmother, Margaret, has become an unexpected ally in all this. She called me a few days ago to check in and ended up telling me some family tea. Apparently, she's been using this incident to talk to Amber about priorities and kindness. She said, I've been trying to teach that girl that life isn't all about appearances for years. Maybe now she'll listen. 5. The wedding planner's woes. I got a surprise call from the wedding planner, Jenna. She wanted to thank me for saving her butt with the pizza order. Turns out, she had been trying to convince Amber to have some backup food options, but Amber refused. Jenna said this was her most stressful wedding ever and that she's considering adding an emergency food clause to her contracts from now on. 6. My reflection. All of this has made me do some serious thinking about my friendship with Amber. We've been drifting apart for years, and this incident has really highlighted how different our values are. I'm not sure if this friendship is salvageable, or if I even want to salvage it. 7. The unexpected silver lining. You won't believe this, but I've been approached by a local event planning company. They want to hire me as a crisis management consultant for weddings and other big events. Apparently, word of the pizza incident has spread, and they were impressed by my quick thinking. I'm seriously considering taking them up on it. Who knew my pizza order would lead to a potential career change? 8. The social media storm. Despite Amber's best efforts to control the narrative, the story has taken on a life of its own on social media. Guests have been posting about the best wedding pizza ever, and there's even a hashtag going around, #PizzaWeddingHero. It's equal parts hilarious and mortifying. 9. The venue's response. The wedding venue reached out to me. I guess they got my contact info from the guest list. They wanted to thank me for maintaining the peace and have offered me a discount if I ever want to host an event there. I jokingly asked if I could throw a pizza party, and they said they'd be happy to accommodate. 10. The podcast possibility. A popular wedding planning podcast has invited me to come on as a guest to talk about the importance of prioritizing guest comfort over aesthetics. I'm nervous but excited about the opportunity to share this story more widely and hopefully prevent similar situations in the future. As for Amber and me, well, it's complicated. She's still angry, but I think the reality of the situation is starting to sink in. Sarah told me that Amber cried during their last phone call, saying she never meant for people to go hungry and that she got caught up in trying to have the perfect wedding. I'm giving her space for now, but I'm open to talking when she's ready. This whole experience has taught me a lot about standing up for what's right, even when it's uncomfortable. It's also shown me the power of a well-timed pizza delivery. To everyone who's been following this saga, thank you for your support, your jokes, and your pizza topping suggestions. I never expected my wedding guest experience to turn into this, but I'm grateful for the perspective it's given me. And to all the future brides and grooms out there, remember, at the end of the day, your wedding is about celebrating love with the people you care about. Make sure those people are comfortable, well-fed, and happy. Even if it means having a stack of pizzas on standby.